There's a low-cost consumer airline called Avello that has its largest base in New Haven, Connecticut. Recently, that New Haven airport, airports around the country served by Avello, have been the site of protests because Avello has announced that it is signing a lucrative deal with the Trump administration to operate deportation flights. Now, Connecticut's Attorney General William Tong is getting involved. He's written to Avello, quote, "The state of Connecticut has an obligation now to consider the viability of our choice to support Avello." Joining us now is Connecticut's Attorney General William Tong. Mr. Attorney General, I really appreciate you making time to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Let me ask if I've got any of this the wrong way around or if I've explained this in a way that basically hits the high points.
Yeah, as the state's Attorney General, as Connecticut's Attorney General, I don't think we should be doing business with an airline that operates ICE Air. I mean, we've received reports, there's public reporting that there are detainees, many of them nonviolent, who are shackled on these flights, including children, sick children, according to some reports, with no plan for how to evacuate these detainees and shackled people, including children, if there's a problem with the plane or they have to get off the plane. And I've sent a letter to the CEO of Avello Air asking him basic questions about what they're doing and whether this is true, and he's essentially given us the finger.
I understand that Avello has received pretty important material support from the taxpayers of the state of Connecticut when they expanded from their hub in New Haven to a second Connecticut airport to Bradley near Hartford. They got a big fuel tax moratorium from the state, which is quite a lot of money. I also understand that from reporting in ProPublica today, that fuel tax moratorium, again, very lucrative for them, is due to expire at the end of June. Is that something that's on the table in terms of the arrangement now? Yeah.
People in the legislature and people across Connecticut are outraged, and they don't want to see that fuel tax renewed. They don't want to see a tax break for a company, again, that's running ICE Air and may be a party to illegal deportations of people, potentially now American citizens, right? We're talking about a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old with cancer, American citizens who have been deported. And is ICE Air, is Avello part of those deportations and part of those flights? Look, I can't stop a company from operating a lawful business, but the state of Connecticut doesn't have to be their partner. We don't have to operate, we don't have to be a partner and invest in a new terminal, for example. We don't have to give incentives for job creation and essentially revenue guarantees. We don't have to give tax breaks over aviation fuel. We don't have to be their partner. We don't have to be in bed with a company that's hurting people and making money off of other people's misery.
Is the question here, I'm just thinking about the mindset of the company executives here, and what we know was basically is what they've given us in terms of statements, what they've said in terms of their position on this. Is it your sense that the company is considering abandoning these contracts with the federal government so as to retain its relationship with states like yours? Or is it your sense that they're choosing the Trump administration and they'll be willing to basically give up the kinds of important relationships that they've had and lucrative arrangements that they've had that have allowed them to be a consumer airline of the size that they are?
Yeah, I don't really know because they won't answer my questions. And they've told me to go pound sand and take a hike, and they're not talking to me. So I can only assume that they intend to make money off of other people's misery. And the explanations that I've heard is, well, we're having trouble with our business, and the only way we can survive is by running ICE Air. And if that's the only way you can survive, then it sounds like you've got bigger problems with your business. I've also heard, come on, it's legal. Can't we just operate this unethical, immoral business so we can survive? And the answer is no. We don't have to be a partner to you in doing that. And to the extent it violates the law, and by the way, we have a standing Supreme Court order that you have to provide due process to people before they are deported. You're potentially putting your flight attendants and pilots at risk of joining you, the airline, in violating the law. And if you're asking, can we just violate the law to survive? The answer is no.
Connecticut's Attorney General, William Tong. Sir, thank you very much for your time tonight, and keep us apprised on this. This is an interesting, developing story. We've been monitoring these protests. We'd love to stay in touch with you about this.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.